I was standing in my Los Angeles office, sunlight spilling across the polished floors like liquid gold, when my phone buzzed for the third time in a row. I remember smoothing the sleeve of my silk blouse, the soft fabric cool against my skin, before glancing at the screen. Mom. Again. Funny how, after all these years, her name still tightened something in my chest. I ignored the call and looked out the floor-to-ceiling window instead. The city stretched beneath me, traffic humming, palm trees swaying, the soft glow of a morning that felt too beautiful to ruin with old memories. My assistant had just left a stack of contracts on my desk, and I should have been reviewing them. But that buzzing wouldn't stop. This time, a message popped up. "It's urgent. Call me, please." That word, urgent, made a knot form in my stomach. My mother only used it when she wanted something. When someone in the family had messed up. When they needed me. I let out a slow breath, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. I had built this life carefully, brick by brick. Independence, success, peace. All the things I once begged my family to care about. All the things they tried to take from me. But the universe has its timing. And today, it seemed set on dragging me back to the moment everything changed. The moment they hid the one letter that could have rewritten my entire life. The full-ride scholarship to USC. And now they wanted my help. I was 17 when everything cracked open, old enough to dream big, but still young enough to believe my family wanted those dreams for me too. Back then, our house in Bakersfield always smelled like fried onions and laundry detergent. My room was the only quiet corner I had, its walls covered in college brochures I'd collected like treasure. USC's brochure hung right above my bed, bold cardinal letters that made my heart race every time I looked at them. I remember the day the letter arrived. I came home from school, my backpack sliding down my arm, my eyes puffy from another late night of studying at the public library. College decisions were supposed to arrive any day, and my hands tingled with anticipation. But when I walked in, my mother and stepfather were sitting at the dining table, stiff, silent, as if they'd been waiting for me. My mother didn't meet my eyes. My stepfather cleared his throat. "It didn't come today," he said too quickly. Something about the way he said it made my skin prickle. My gaze drifted to the counter, usually where the mail was tossed carelessly. Today, it was empty, wiped clean. I felt a small tremor in my hands. "Are you sure?" USC said this week. My mother exhaled sharply, as if the conversation annoyed her. "We told you it didn't come. Stop obsessing." Her tone stung, but I swallowed it. I'd been swallowing pain for years. A few hours later, when they were in the backyard arguing about something petty, I slipped into their bedroom. Quiet. Careful. I don't know what pushed me. Instinct, fear, hope. But I opened the bottom drawer of my mother's dresser, where she kept documents she didn't want anyone touching. And there it was. The envelope with the USC seal. My name printed in bold letters. I felt like the world had tilted. My heart thudded so loudly, I thought they would hear it. I tore it open with shaking fingers. "We are pleased to offer you a full-ride scholarship." My knees nearly buckled. Full ride. USC. Everything I had dreamed about. Everything I worked for. Hidden from me. 1,000 thoughts crashed into each other. Why would they do this? Why lie? Why take away the one chance I had to get out? But I didn't have time to dwell. I heard footsteps outside their door and shoved the letter into my backpack, my pulse roaring. That evening, I walked to my grandmother's house. Abuela Rosa, tiny, stubborn, soft-eyed, opened the door before I even knocked twice. She took one look at my trembling hands and pulled me in. "Mi Nina, what happened?" I broke. The tears came hot, unstoppable, dripping onto her faded floral blouse. She held me, rocking slightly, the way she used to when I had nightmares as a child. When I told her about the letter, her jaw tightened with a quiet anger I'd rarely seen in her. She disappeared for a moment and returned with a small, delicate silver bracelet, engraved with the words, "Go where they can't stop you." "A gift," she whispered, fastening it around my wrist. "For the woman you're becoming, not the girl they want to keep small." That night, I made my choice. I would leave. with or without their blessing. Leaving home wasn't dramatic. No slammed doors, no shouted goodbyes. Just me packing my backpack at dawn, slipping out while the house was still quiet. I remember the weight of Abuela's bracelet against my wrist, cool and reassuring. Bakersfield faded behind me as the bus rumbled toward Los Angeles, but the fear stayed lodged in my throat the whole ride. USC's campus felt like another planet, tall brick buildings, sprawling lawns, students walking with purpose. I remember clutching my orientation folder like it was a lifeline. I had a full ride, yes, but that didn't mean I had money for food, supplies, or the endless little things a girl alone in a big city needs. Still, freedom tasted too sweet for me to complain. My first year was a blur of sleepless nights and cafeteria meals I stretched into 2 days. I worked every campus job they would let me take, tutoring, front desk, library shelving at 2 a.m. I kept my head down, attended every class, and wrote papers until my fingers cramped. But it was during my sophomore year that everything shifted. I inhaled slowly, forcing calm. Before I left, USC offered me a full ride. You hid the letter. You tried to keep me here. You didn't want me to leave because I was convenient. I cooked. I cleaned. I babysat. I made your lives easier. My mother's lip trembled. We were scared. You were so young. We thought. No. I cut in steady. You thought small. And you expected me to stay small with you. I walked to the dining table, pulled out a folder from my bag, and placed it down. Inside were documents, company ownership certificates, investment summaries, press features. All neatly stacked. Since you seem confused about my office job, let me clarify, I said. I'm not an employee. I own a consulting firm. I manage million-dollar portfolios. I live in a high-rise overlooking downtown. And that office has 35 people working under me. Their mouths fell open. My mother sat down as if her knees gave out. My brother stared at me as if seeing me clearly for the first time in his life. My stepfather was the first to speak. You own a company? Yes. How much money do you make? I didn't hesitate. More than enough. More than you ever imagined. Silence filled the room again, heavy, stunned, almost suffocating. I let them sit with it. Let them feel what it was like to underestimate someone who had spent her entire life fighting to rise. Then I said, now tell me why you really called. My mother's breath hitched, and for a moment, she looked like she might cry. But the tears didn't fall, maybe because she'd spent years swallowing emotions the same way I once had. We didn't know how else to help Daniel, she whispered. He's been trying. Really? But life just keeps knocking him down. Daniel stared at the table, jaw clenched. I messed up. I know I did. But I'm not asking for a bailout. I'm asking for one chance. Just one. His voice cracked on the last word, and something inside me softened. Not enough to crumble, but enough to listen. I pulled out a chair and sat, crossing one leg over the other. I can help, I said finally. But not like before. Not with blind trust and no accountability. All three of them looked up. I'll pay off the debt, I continued, but I'm setting conditions. And if any of you break them, any of them, I walk away for good. My stepfather stiffened. Conditions? Yes, I said smoothly. Let's start with you. His jaw tightened. Me? You will not, under any circumstances, speak to me with disrespect, raise your voice at me, or try to guilt-trip me again. And you will not make decisions about my life without me. Ever. The control you once had? Gone. He opened his mouth, then, surprisingly, closed it and gave a stiff nod. I turned to my mother next. You will start being honest with me. Completely. No lies to protect me. No hiding things. No pretending everything is fine when it's not. If you need help, you say it clearly. If you're hurt, you say it. If you're overwhelmed, you ask. No more manipulation. No more silence. Her eyes filled instantly. I can do that, she whispered, voice trembling. I want to do that. Then I looked at Daniel. My brother, who had once shared his Halloween candy with me, who had cried when I left for USC at dawn, even though he pretended he didn't care. My little brother, who was now a man sitting in the ruins of his own choices. For you, I said gently, the condition is work. Real work. I'll pay the debt today. But starting tomorrow, you'll show up at my firm at 8 a.m. sharp. You'll train. You'll learn. You'll earn your way back. And you're not quitting when it gets hard. His eyes widened. You give me a job? I give you a chance, I corrected. The rest is on you. He swallowed hard. I won't waste it. I hope not, I said. Because I'm not giving second chances this time. Silence settled over us, but it wasn't the suffocating, bitter silence of the past. It was different, tentative, cautious, but full of possibility. My mother reached for my hand, hesitated, then let it fall back into her lap. We didn't deserve your kindness, she whispered. But thank you. I exhaled, a long breath I felt I'd been holding for years. This isn't kindness, I said softly. This is closure. And a new beginning, if all of you want it. My brother nodded firmly. My stepfather gave a slow, reluctant bow of his head. My mother's tears finally slipped free. I stood. Good. Then tomorrow we start rebuilding. All of us. The next morning felt different. I showed up at my office early, sipping coffee while glancing at the city waking up below. For the first time in years, my hands weren't shaking before a difficult conversation. I felt steady, grounded, like the woman I had built myself into had finally caught up with the girl who once cried in her grandmother's arms. At exactly 7:58 a.m., Daniel walked into the lobby, hair combed, shirt tucked in, eyes tired but determined. My receptionist looked at him, then at me, and I simply nodded. This is our newest trainee, I said. He shadowed one of my junior analysts that day, and the next, and the week after that. He wasn't perfect, he made mistakes, asked obvious questions, got overwhelmed. But he showed up. Every morning. Early. Sometimes with 2 coffees, placing one quietly on my desk without saying a word. My mother began calling me without needing anything, sometimes just to ask how my day went, sometimes to share hers. Her voice grew lighter over the weeks, the brittle tension slowly melting into something that felt almost normal. Even my stepfather softened. He didn't suddenly become warm or expressive, but he tried. And effort, no matter how small, is something I never overlook anymore. But the biggest change was in me. For years, I'd carried anger like armor. I believed I needed it to survive, to succeed, to stay strong. But standing in my office one evening, watching Daniel organize files with serious focus, I realized something. Anger didn't build my life. I did. I pulled out the small jewelry box I kept in my drawer. Inside, nestled in velvet, was Abuela's bracelet, the silver now slightly worn, the engraving still sharp. Go where they can't stop you. I touched the metal, letting the memory of her voice wash over me. Minina, go live the life they tried to hold back. I smiled, soft, grateful, not bitter the way I once might have been. That bracelet had carried me through too many nights to count, reminding me who I was long before I believed it. And now, watching my family slowly grow into better versions of themselves, it felt like her blessing was finally complete. When Daniel left for the day, he paused at my door. Thank you, he said quietly. Not for the money, for not giving up on me. I nodded. Just keep going. That's all I ask. After he left, I slipped the bracelet back onto my wrist, feeling its familiar weight settle against my skin. Then I whispered the truth that had taken me years to learn, a truth that tasted like freedom, strength, and a grace I had earned the hard way. I go where no one can stop me anymore. Bottom of form.